Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a Shaddoll Invoked Dogmatika deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this for you guys because this deck was actually suggested to me by one of my patrons, Meli. And this deck is an extremely powerful deck that makes great use of all these insane engines we're playing in this build. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon in the description below for all those awesome rewards. Again, your name is for every single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to our Patreon. And definitely give Meli some love down in the comments down below for suggesting such an awesome deck. So let's get straight on into this one, guys. So first off, we're playing 3 copies of Alistair the Invoker. This card is probably one of the best normal summons in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! And definitely the best normal summon in this deck. This card has a really cool ability. If this card is normal summon, you get to add 1 invocation from your deck to your hand, which is a great ability. Instantly get to your copy of invocation so you can start fusion summoning. And I actually have a really spicy tech card to be able to use with Alistair in this build that we'll get into a little bit later. We then play 2 copies of Windy. Windy's a really good 2-of in the build, and all of your Shaddolls share a common ability that you can only get their either flip effect or their sent to graveyard effect per turn, and only once that turn. You cannot get both effects. So this card's flip effect is it lets you special summon 1 Shaddoll monster from your deck in face up or face down defense position, except another copy of this card, and if this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can actually special summon 1 Shaddoll monster from your deck in face down defense position, which is a great effect. We then play a single copy of Ariel. Ariel is great as a 1-of in the build because if this card is flipped face up, you can target one of your banished Shaddoll monsters and special summon it in face up or face down defense position. And if this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can target up to 3 cards in your graveyard or in the graveyards and banish them, which is such a cool ability to be able to banish 3 cards from the graveyards. We then play a single copy of Shaddoll Beast. Shaddoll Beast is amazing because this card helps you draw cards, because if this card is flipped face up, you draw 2 and discard a card, and if this card is sent to the graveyard, you actually get to draw a card, which is amazing. So regardless with this card, you're going to be drawing cards. We then play a single copy of Shaddoll Dragon. If this card is flipped face up, you get to target 1 card your opponent controls and return it back to the hand, and if it's sent to the graveyard, it actually pops a spell or trap on the field, which is great to be able to have an in-deck pop for spells and traps, especially when you fusion summon to be able to just pop a card on the field that's spell or trap is amazing. We then play 2 copies of Squamata. Squamata is amazing in this deck as a 2-of, because if this card is sent to the grave by a card effect, you actually get to send a Shaddoll card from your deck to the grave, which is an amazing ability because a lot of our Shaddoll monsters want to be sent to the graveyard, and if this card is flipped face up, it actually is a man-eater bug, which is hilarious, that it actually targets 1 monster on the field and destroys it. We then play a single copy of Blazing Cartesia. This card is basically walking polymerization, which is amazing because quick effect, you can fusion summon 1 level 8 or higher fusion monster from your X deck using monsters from your hand or field as material, which is a really cool effect about this card. And also, during the end phase, if a fusion monster was sent to your graveyard this turn, you can add this card from grave back to hand. So you can honestly add this card back to your hand over and over again, which is just so cool. And basically being a walking polymerization is just insane. We then play a single copy of Quim. Quim is amazing because this card also counts as a Dogmatika monster, which is just so cool about this card. I absolutely love that about this card, and it's great because if this card is normal or special summon, then you can send a Fallen Volbaz or 1 card that mentions it from your deck to the graveyard, which can be your copy of Cartesia, which is really good. It also has the ability, if a card leaves the X deck except during the damage step, you can target Fallen Volbaz or monster that mentions it in your grave and special summon it, which is amazing to combo with your copy of Blazing Cartesia. We then play a single copy of Dogmatika Ecclesia. Ecclesia is really good as a 1-of in the deck because this card searches out your other Dogmatika cards, and also if you control a monster that's special summoned in the X deck, you can special summon this card from your hand, which is amazing. We then play a single copy of Fleur-de-Lis. Fleur-de-Lis is what we usually search off our copy of Ecclesia, and this card is amazing because it's basically a hand trap in the deck, and it's really, really big to be able to summon to our side of the field. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom's a great hand trap just to stop our opponent from touching the deck. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start with a single copy of Terraforming. Terraforming is an extremely important one of in the deck to help us get to our copy of Magical Meltdown so that we can search out Alistair and then Invocation and start going in for fusion plays. We then play a single copy of Shaddoll Fusion. This card is a really good one in the deck that's basically a quick play fusion spell that lets us fusion summon a Shaddoll Fusion monster from our X deck using monsters from our hand or field as fusion material, which is great to have a quick play spell to help us fusion summon during our opponent's turn to be able to just flip this up like a trap, which is amazing. We then play a single copy of Triple Tactics Talents. This card is great in the deck because it helps you either draw 2, take control of an opponent's monster, or look at your opponent's hand and choose 1 card from it and shuffle it in the deck, which is just super helpful about this card just to basically deal with any hand trap your opponent might have in the hand, especially if they hand trap us first. We then play 2 copies of Triple Tactics Thrust. This card is insane in this deck. This card searches so many cards in the deck. It helps you get to cards that are like Dear Servant. Your copy of Terraforming can help you get to your copy of Talent, one of our spicy tech cards that we're going to get into a little later, and even a bunch of other cards in the deck. It can even get to your cards like Shaddoll Fusion, which is amazing about this card, and it just helps out so much in the deck. If you don't have Thrust, you can take it out for other hand traps if you want to, or even play 2 more copies of Talents if you want to play 2 more copies of Talents. But this card, if you have it, play it in the deck. We then play 2 copies of Invocation. Invocation is how you're going to go into all of your invoked fusion monsters, and this card is a crazy powerful fusion spell to be able to use in the deck. We then play 3 copies of Magical Meltdown. Magical Meltdown is a great field spell that has the ability that when this card is activated, you get to add a copy of Alistair from your deck to your hand, and the activation of your cards and effects that include an effect that fusion summons a fusion monster cannot be negated. Also, your opponent's cards and effects cannot activate when a monster is fusion summoned this way, which is great to attract all your different fusion summons while also searching out your copy of Alistair. You always want to see this card or Terraforming in your opening hand so you can go in for some insane plays. We then play 3 copies of Shaddoll Fusion. Shaddoll Fusion is the basically craziest fusion spell outside of cards like Branded Fusion that has ever been created, and is actually my favorite fusion spell ever because this card is so cool. It has the ability to let you fusion summon a Shaddoll Fusion monster from your X deck using monsters from your hand or field as fusion material. And if your opponent controls the monster that was special summoned from the X deck, you can also use monsters in your deck as fusion material, which is insane. This card is so good in the deck, helps out so much to go in for fusion plays, and is such a powerful card. I absolutely love this card. It's basically the original overpowered fusion spell, and it's so cool to be able to base a deck around it again. We then play 3 copies of an extremely spicy tech card that I'm actually going to lay face down, and we're going to play Guess That Card. This card is a really cool card that we can actually use with Alistair to help us in this deck. I absolutely love this card. It's a really spicy tech card, and we're going to just lay it face down and play Guess That Card. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, guys. Definitely hit that bell notification so you can become part of the notification squad. And we're actually on the road to 100K subscribers, so definitely subscribe because it really helps out the channel. So let's go ahead and reveal this card and comment down below what you think it is. But we're going to reveal this card in 3, 2, 1. What do you think this card is? Let's go ahead and reveal it. And it's actually going to be 3 copies of a card I bet you didn't guess. 3 copies of Shadow's Light. Shadow's Light is a really cool card to be able to use in this deck because it lets you target a dark monster that you control to special summon 1 light monster from your deck or X deck with the same original type and level, which is great to be able to use with your copy of Squigmata or your copy of Alistair the Invoker. Alistair the Invoker is a spellcaster that is a dark monster that can be used to be able to summon out your copy of either Blazing Cartesia or Quim, which you're usually summoning Quim out to your side of the field to send Blazing Cartesia to the graveyard since it mentions Fall to Volbaz to be able to use with your copy of Alistair, which is just so cool to be able to do. I love this combo in the deck because it helps you go for so many cool plays, and it's amazing. Plus, you can also use your copy of Squigmata if you don't have a way to get to Alistair because it is a spellcaster that's also dark, which is why I play 2 Squigmatas in the deck instead of 1, which is just so cool. I love that about your copies of Shadowlight because it's just really interesting plays that you can do with this card. Plus, It has a really cool ability that you can actually banish this card from your graveyard, and during your main phase, you can normal summon one light or dark monster in addition to your normal summon reset. The only downside of this card, which doesn't even matter if we're going first, is you cannot conduct your battle phase the turn you activate this effect, or either of these effects, which is not that big of a deal, but it's really an insane 3-of in the build to be able to use in this deck. We then play 3 copies of Nadir's Servant. Nadir is really good in the deck as a 3-of because it lets you send a monster from your extract to the graveyard to add 1 Dogmatika monster or Fallen Volbaz from your deck or graveyard to your hand, basically searching out your copy of your Ecclesia, which is just really, really cool. We then play 3 copies of Super Polymerization. Super Poly is just insane in basically any fusion deck, and it's really good right now to be able to break your opponent's board, which is why we're playing this card as a 3-of in the deck. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're going to start off with a single copy of Shaddoll Incarnation. Shaddoll Incarnation is an amazing 1-of to be able to use with our copy of Construct because it has a really cool ability that you can actually banish this card from the graveyard and a Shaddoll card from your graveyard and then actually target one of these or use one of these effects to change one face down defense position monster that you control to face up defense position, or change one face up defense position monster you control to face down defense position, which is a great ability to be able to do to basically flip your monsters face up and face down. And it also has a great ability to let you target one Shaddoll monster in your graveyard and special summon it in face up or face down defense position, which is such a cool effect. I love that it lets you flip flop your Shaddoll monsters so you can use their abilities over and over again. And it's great to be able to combo with your copy of Construct to send it to the graveyard. And it's really cool to combo with your copy of Ariel. I love that about this card. It's just absolutely amazing. We then play a single copy of Shaddoll Schism. Shaddoll Schism is just so good. This card is amazing in the deck. He's let you during your main phase fusion summon 1 Shaddoll fusion monster from your extract by banishing fusion materials listed on it from the field or grave, but it cannot attack directly this turn. Then you can actually send to the graveyard 1 monster that your opponent controls with the same attribute as that fusion summoned monster, which is great because if you actually summon out a dark or a light monster, you get to send a dark or a light monster to the graveyard, which is just so cool because a lot of decks play light and dark cards. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, guys, we're going to start with the best fusion monster ever created, Shaddoll Construct, which is actually one of my favorite cards ever. This card is so good, so cool. It's a walking foolish barrel, and it attacks a monster. It has a really cool effect that you can actually have the ability, if this card is special summon, you can send 1 Shaddoll card from your deck to the graveyard, which is basically a walking foolish barrel to get any of your Shaddoll monsters effects to go off. And at the start of the damage step, if this card battles any special summon monster, destroy that monster. And if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can actually target a Shaddoll spell or trap in the grave and add it back to your hand, which is such an insane ability. We then play a single copy of Apkallone. Apkallone is great in the deck as a 1-of to be able to just summon to your side of the field. Because if this card is special summon, you can target 1 face-up card on the field and negate its effects, or if this card is sent to the grave, you can add 1 Shaddoll card from your deck or graveyard back to your hand, then discard a card, which is a pretty cool ability. We then play a single copy of Winda. Winda is the original Floodgate fusion monster. If this card's on your side of the field, each player can only special summon once per turn, which is such an insane ability to slow the game down. Also, it cannot be destroyed by an opponent's card effect, which is so cool. We then play a single copy of Dusk Dragon. Dusk Dragon is really good as a combo piece in the deck, and I really like this card as a 1-of in the build. We then play 2 copies of Makaba. Makaba is basically an insane walking negate in the deck, which is why we play this card as a 2-of in the build. We then play a single copy of the Big Invoked Tower. This card is a great card in the deck to be able to summon from the extract. Basically is a big boss monster. 1 copy of Caliga. I really like Caliga in the extract as well, because this card is amazing combo with your copy of Winda, is if a player's monster effect attempts to activate, none of that player's monsters can activate their effects for the rest of the turn, which is just so cool. And then while this card is face up on the field, each player can only attack with only 1 monster each battle phase, essentially being like a dark door, which is just hilarious. This card combo with Winda is basically a win, which is just really, really cool. We then play a single copy of the Garua. Garua is really good to be able to use in the deck to basically use with super polymerization. We then play a single copy of Elder Entity Nist because we can pop multiple cards on the field with this card, which is just so cool. You can pop a card on the field when it's sent to the grave, which is just really good. So basically you can pop your spells and traps or monsters, which is insane. And I really like this card in the build to be able to use their copy into Nadir, because Nadir gives us a search, and then we can use this card to be able to pop something and then search out Fleur-de-Lis off of Ecclesia, which gives us multiple interactions with the opponent, which is just insane. We then play a single copy of Borreload Savage. Borreload Savage is insane, and what's the really cool thing about this is since we don't play cards like Branded Fusion or even cards like Fusion Deployment with our copies of, say, Dusk Dragon to be able to summon out our copy of Ecclesia or Cartesia from the deck, you don't even have to like lock yourself into fusion plays, which is amazing. So you can summon out something like Borreload Savage because your copy of Cartesia and Quim are both tuners. And we play a lot of level 4s in the deck, so you can easily go into cards like Borreload Savage to give you negates. Speaking of negates, we also play a single copy of Appaloosa because it's very easy to put on our side of the field in this build to give us multiple monster negates. We do fusion summon, so we do play Cross Sheep. Cross Sheep's really good in the deck because if you fusion summon, you get special summon a level 4 or lower monster from your graveyard, which is really good in this build. And then finally play a single copy of Artemis because basically this is the best card you can go into when you summon out your copy of Alistair. Use your copy of Shadow Light to special summon out another monster, and then link away the copy of Alistair for this card, giving you both a light and a dark to be able to go in for a bunch of different plays, or Alistair in the grave, plus this card so you can go in for your copy of Makaba, which is just insane. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoy it. This deck is super fun to be able to play. I absolutely love any deck that plays Shaddoll because Construct is one of my favorite cards because it's from the Duelist Alliance era, which is my favorite era of Yu-Gi-Oh! And definitely comment down below what your favorite area of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is. I love the Duelist Alliance era because it's so fun to be able to play with Shaddoll decks, Cleaforts, all those other really cool decks. So that's going to do it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell notification, become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.